Welcome back to Zero In. I'm Katie Lucas, filling in for Mike Snow this week, and of course, joining your host, Brett Nierengarten. Brett, it's time for our Roughstock report, and we're going to kick things off with bull rider Brody Yeary. He really did not have the season that he wanted in 2023. Back in 2022, he was number 28 in the world with $72,000 won. Kind of took a step back in 2023, dropping outside of the top 50.
Yeah, he's a guy who's really been on the cusp of the NFR a couple times in his career. He's finished in the top 30 3 times since 2018. 2018, he was number 22. 2020, he was number 20. 2022, like you said, he was number 28. But he's off to a much better start this year than really any other year of his career. You'll see the stats in a second here. 10 of 25, that's 40%. That's an NFR-type number right in the meat of that bell curve there. But the biggest thing, those 84.9 points, by far the highest mark of his career if it holds. His last 4 qualified rides, 86.5 points on each of them. That's been in 11 outs. It took him 43 outs prior to that to have 4 rides of that total. So,
you know, I had the chance to visit with him when I was in Fort Worth, and I know he was really disappointed in his performance last year. And I think it's really clear when you look at the numbers, you can see what he's already done so far this year. You know, he's won $27,000. That's over 80% of what he won in the entire 2023 season at just $33,000. It's very clear he does not want to let that happen again in 2024.
Yeah, and you mentioned you talked to him in Fort Worth. Fort Worth, he made the finals there. That's the first time he's made a Texas Swing Finals since 2019. That also came in Fort Worth, and we talked about those stats. He's riding 40%. Career best 33%. He's averaging 84.9 points. Career best 81.8 points. So everything looking up for him, and that 40% really, really encouraging because he's doing it at bigger rodeos.
Well, and I'd be interested to see, too, and follow up with Brody and see, okay, what's changed? He wasn't injured in 2023. Something took a step back. Maybe it was mentally. Maybe there was something going on with his riding. So I'd be interested to visit with him and see, okay, what is the difference maker for him in 2024? Because obviously there's something different in the water right now for Brody Yeary, and it is making a huge difference, not only in the standings, but in those stats that you relayed as well. But another contestant that certainly didn't have a tough 2023 was Kade Sonnier, the young bareback rider, and he's back at it again in 2024. But Brett, you tell me, with just $15,000 won so far this year, he's actually trending a little bit lower than what we saw in 2023.
Yeah, he's trending lower than a guy who was top 2 in the world this time last year, though. He won $29,000 and really burst onto the scene. And we see this now with a lot of young guys is in that first year, the rookie year, when they've never tasted the NFR, they go really, really hard early in the year. And it didn't affect Kade last year because he won Cheyenne and Calgary still in the summer. But I think we've seen him take a different approach this year, a little more conservative approach, not go to as many rodeos. He's been to Fort Worth and San Antonio, and then mostly just stayed in that Southeastern circuit other than that. But in that Southeastern circuit, 3 wins between January 11th and February 3rd. 86 at the Midwinter Fair and Rodeo, 83.5 at Rodeo Columbus, 89 at the Southwest District Fat Stock Show and Rodeo. Those only paid a combined $3,200, but riding really, really well. You can see it right there. Perfect 15 for 15, 82.2 points. And I think the biggest thing now, he's already through to the semifinals in San Antonio, and that was really his breakout party last year when he swept through his bracket and won $7,500. So good to see him after not doing as well in Fort Worth, not getting out of his group, making it through in San Antonio.
Yeah, he's got a huge chance to really up those $15,000 in earnings he's had so far. And as you made the point, too, this summer did not affect him in a negative way at all. He won Calgary, turns around, splits the win at the Cheyenne Frontier Days. So he's got that consistency already as a rookie. And I think maybe that came from waiting a little bit longer, making sure he was prepared before he jumped into the pro rodeo game. He didn't see those ups and downs that we see from a lot of rodeo competitors. He's really established himself as a consistent winner already in his young career.
I mean, you could tell right away last year with the quality of horses he could ride and the way he would ride them, being a 22, 23-year-old rookie who played college baseball, who was a catcher for 16 years. You knew he was going to be a tough kid. You knew he was going to be a strong kid. He rides bareback horses because he can't even really fit in the saddle. So that tells you everything you need to know about how big and how strong he is. And we saw it right away. And again, I think that bodes well for him as well. One of his mentors, Tim O'Connell, who's obviously in the best shape of almost any bareback rider. So this guy is a guy who can really, really hold up through it all. And again, we showed it through the rookie because that's when you get beat up, is early on in your career, when you're younger, when you don't know the quality of these horses and the caliber of these horses. he showed up at every turn. He did it in the NFR as well. And so, again, the only reason he doesn't have the amount of money he had last year is because he didn't do as well in Fort Worth. But one good check in Fort Worth could have changed everything for him, just like one big one in San Antonio can.
I think that's a great point, too. He's held up through some of the toughest situations against some of the toughest horses in the world. He ended up number 3 in the world after his first NFR experience. You know, that's a big deal to be able to do that over 10 days of competition against some of the best horses, the hardest ones to ride, and the toughest competition. To finish in the number 3 spot, I think shows big things for Kade Sonnier's future, as we saw all the way through the 2023 season. So we certainly expect those numbers to trend up. And there's another competitor that has been on the rise for a while now, Parker Fleet in the saddle bronc riding, current number 5 in the world standings with $28,000.
Yeah, Parker's a guy that we kind of look at on this show for what are the keys you're looking for someone who might have a breakout year. And it's someone who, when they're young, when they're 21, 22 years old, are still able to finish in the top 50. He finished 33rd last year, made $50,000. And it's guys who shine at the college finals. Now that's becoming a pretty direct pipeline to, if you do well at the college finals, you can probably count on in 2 or 3 years that you'll be doing well in pro rodeo. And he's been to the college finals multiple times. He made the short round of the college finals last year. And then going into the pro rodeo season this year, like I said, made the finals in Fort Worth, already into the semifinals in San Antonio, and he's really kind of living on borrowed time or bonus time because he wasn't even in any of the Texas Swing rodeos this year, and now he's cleaning up at them in 2023. That could be all the difference between getting those extra $50,000, $60,000 that he needs to get to the NFR is just a full Texas Swing.
Well, and if you look at his stats right now, qualified attempts are looking at 21 out of 24, average score of 82.5 points, and he's already had 5 rides over 85 points so far. I think that shows big things right now for young Parker Fleet. And as you said, just 23 years old and really has been on the rise in a big way. You know, in his 2021 season, his first full year of competition, he only won $14,000. Fast forward a couple years, in 2024, he's already won $28,000 and sitting number 5 in the world.
And another thing that showed something for me is how he rode in Denver, in San Antonio, in Fort Worth. He got on 11 horses there, rode all 11, which is an accomplishment in and of itself for a young bronc rider, but 10 of those 11 rides marked 80 points or higher. And I mentioned already, all the way through to the semifinals in San Antonio, made the finals in Fort Worth. And if you can make the finals in Fort Worth and San Antonio back-to-back, that shows me you're an NFR bronc rider. Not a lot of guys who aren't top 20 caliber guys do that even once, much less twice in consecutive rodeos. Now he's got a chance to do that this coming weekend.
Well, and saddle bronc riding is so much about finesse, too. So I'm not surprised that for some competitors, we're starting to see these 23-year-olds that are just starting to feel like they're breaking out in the pro rodeo game, because you've got to take some time to really hone your craft in the saddle bronc riding, because it's all about that finesse that the judges are looking for.
And I mentioned the college finals kind of being that pipeline. The guy who won it last year was Damian Brennan, who's now right up there in the top 5 in the world with Parker Fleet as well. So again, Q McWhorter up there as well. So you see a lot more of these guys where it may have taken him a little bit to get into pro rodeo, where once they have a full college career of 3-4 years, get used to the pro rodeo while they're college rodeoing, you see guys who are now ready at 22, 23 years old to make a statement and make the NFR.
All right, Brett, well, that's it for our Roughstock report. When we come back on Zero In, it's time for our timed event breakdown. Stay with us.